your host, Majaro.
What is up, my tribal people? Welcome back to the Pre-Production YouTube channel. I'm your host, your tribal chief, Majaro, aka Midge. And you already know what I'm going to say. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to grow the community. And by sharing this with your friends and family, that goes a long way in helping us do that. Now, let's get into the video. What is up, my tribal people? Welcome back to the channel. And today, we're going to be covering some malfeasant activities by a part of the justice system. Someone who, was there to lay down the law and lay the law of the land and to be judge, jury, and executioner in some instances of criminals. And you would think a judge would be the most upstanding citizen, never had a run-in with the law, never been part of any altercations or character or ethics come into question. There'll be a model citizen, no hair out of place, no skeletons in the closet, if you will. You would assume that, these judges are there to sentence people, set an example for what you do and don't do in societies. But what happens when a corrupt judge gets exposed? Let's meet District Magistral Judge Sonya Knight. Who is Sonya Knight? If you don't know who Sonya Knight is, let me tell you about Sonya. A story about Sonya. Sonya is 58 years old and she was first elected to the Darton County Magisterial Judge in 2015. Years later, she won her re-election in 2021. But over the past couple of years, it's not been looking good for her. She was in a relationship, and this relationship ended up being in a happy marriage for 2 years. That's until they started to have marital problems. They just weren't getting along. They decided, you know what, it's best we separate for the time being and we can figure it out afterwards. Unfortunately for them, or unfortunately for her, things weren't able to be figured out. And eventually her ex-husband said, I've had enough. I don't want to be part of this anymore. I want to be free of you. I need to get gone. I'm moving in with my sister out of state. I'm gone. And Sonya didn't like that. You see, Sonya had a problem. She didn't want her husband to leave her. I mean, she was a district judge. This would be embarrassing for her reputation. And people would be like, right, is that our judge? Yeah. Getting abandoned by her husband. I thought they were happily married for 2 years. Like, what's going on here? So, on the day he was set to leave, she thought, nah, I'm going to take his car keys. I'm going to drive off and go wherever so he can't get away from me. But obviously, her ex-husband was like, nah, I'm getting my stuff and leaving you. Like, what is this? Get out of my car. I'm trying to leave. Let's stop this. But unfortunately, one thing led to another and they started hurtling towards a fire hydrant. And that's when it starts to get wicked. As you know, fire hydrants tend to spout up water in the air. So because of that, a lot of people in the community were like, what's going on here? Why is this judge out here with this guy? Like, ain't that her husband? What's going on here? Like, why is there water everywhere? Yo, man, let me call the police. Police come to the scene, and that's when Sonya starts to work her magisterial judge magic, or magisterial judge juju. That's when she starts to lay it on thick, saying he's abusive, saying I was only going to the grocery stores to get food, and he started to drag me out of his car, or out of our car. And that's when, of course, you know what is going to happen. The police took her side straight away. They didn't have to question. As soon as you seen a man or woman the woman, in the first instance, we're going to believe her, and most of the time is right. But this time, it was super, super wrong. And of course, if they notice this person is a judge, they're going to be like, hey, yes, Your Honor, let's take him to jail. Let's book him like the rest of them. So he gets hooked. And you think they separate, they go their own ways, you know, a little bit of domestics at this point is unavoidable. But let's leave it at that and go our separate ways. But nah. She wants to take it another bit further. She starts to press charges, which result in her being granted a restraining order and him being sent to jail for 15 days. Hey, to him, he must have thought, hey, it's a small price to pay to get her gone. To get her out of my life. But no, that wasn't it. He got put on parole for 2 years. And he's thinking, what the hell? I'm put on parole for 2 years. So now I can't even leave the state. I've got to stay here and report weekly to my probation officer for 2 years. I still have to be in the same district as this woman, my now ex-wife. And he's thinking, this can't get any worse. Okay, I'm out of the house. There's a restraining order. At least I'll have some peace and quiet. But nope. Sonya had different ideas. Now that she knew that he couldn't leave the state and he knew where she knew where he worked, that's when the harassment started. Sonya would go up to his apartment trying to reconcile, go up to his place of work and try and reconcile. Even his colleagues were backing it, saying, yo, this woman's at our doorstep every other week trying to chat to man. And then she would have the audacity to tell the courts that he's the one that's breaking his probation and restraining all the restrictions. And to top that off, she was fighting for alimony on a 2-year marriage, saying, oh, I see the paycheck you're getting. I still need to maintain my lifestyle. Huh? You're an elected judge. You got money. You don't need his paycheck for a 2-year relationship or 2-year marriage. And you haven't even got kids with this guy. You're 58, my G. You don't need his money. You got your own. Thankfully, she didn't get it. But still, the cheek of it for me. It's the cheek of it for me to even attempt that. Which is wild. From the reports I've read, after a while, the restraining order was relaxed to allow peaceful contact, whatever that means at this point. I mean, you already think this guy's an abuser and a domestic violencer. Why would you allow peaceful contact? They even got kids. So that was strange to me when I found that out. So, some way, somehow, this man gets invited over to her house or finds himself at her apartment or house, whatever type of building it is. To me, I'm like, bro, why are you even going back to this woman's place? Must have been some toxic ass relationship. God damn. But he's there. He's been invited to move some furniture for her. Allegedly. Right? It's all alleged. Because nothing's been proven. Right? So, he's moving the furniture. And in the midst of moving the furniture, he gets shot by the judge. Sonya shoots her ex-husband, allegedly. Like, you wouldn't believe this would be the turn of events. This was all over the news at the time. Let's have a look.
Police in Harrisburg are investigating a shooting at a home that, according to property tax records, is owned by a Dauphin County Magisterial District Judge. A lot of the details have unfolded about this case throughout the day. Fox 43's Samantha Galvez joins us now in Harrisburg with what we know right now.
Jackie, we know that a woman that lives at this home fired a shot against a man she had an active protection from abuse order against. Now, that's according to the Dauphin County District Attorney. All day long, we've told you that the home is owned by the Magisterial District Judge, Sonya McKnight, but it is unconfirmed if she currently lives here. The shooting happened just after 8:30 this morning on the 2700 block of Lexington Street. This afternoon, many people surrounding the home sharing hugs, as well as police and canines investigating the area. While the people involved have not been identified, property tax records show it is owned by Magisterial District Judge Sonya McKnight. We did some digging and found that a PFA was filed against McKnight's husband, Enoch, back in October. In it, he is barred from McKnight's address. Additional court documents show just 1 day before the PFA was granted, Enoch was charged with simple assault, reckless endangerment, and criminal mischief. The documents go on to explain he assaulted Sonya. We spoke with a neighbor who has lived down the street for 13 years. She also knows Judge McKnight. She says she was asleep when it happened, but heard about it after being woken up by numerous phone calls.
Too close to home. It was right down the street from me. And it's just like, it needs to stop.
Now, the man that was shot is in stable condition. As for the woman that fired that shot, she is cooperating with police.
We know the information now that it was her who shot her ex-husband. But look at the time, they were protecting her in the way they were reporting it. Oh, we don't know who these people are. They haven't been identified. But the owner is the magisterial judge, Sonya McKnight. And we know the husband, ex-husband, had a restraining order against each other. But they're not going to say, oh yeah, she was involved, he was involved. They're not going to put two and two together like that, but they're going to put the evidence in front of you. He allegedly got shot in his hand and groin. Potentially fatal places to be shot, especially the groin. But he survived. And you'd think people would investigate. The police will investigate who shot the bullet, who was the aggressor, Nah, they decided to sweep it under the rug, and she was, not acquitted because they never went to trial, but things weren't looked at, really. They would just let it by, and, it is what it is. People get shot at home sometimes. I wonder how that happened. If that was anyone else involved in this altercation, this domestics, you already know they would have been investigating, or at least looking into what happened. Why is this man shot? But her being in a privileged position as the district magisterial judge, hey, hush. Don't talk about that case. Put that case in the back burner. Yo, my friend, boss man, hey, Margie, allow me to bust case, yeah? Safe. That's all that needed to be had. Conversations here, there, and everywhere. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. I got you. Remember that I put into prison after those months of investigation? Hey, I gave him 15 years, but you only asking for 10. I did you a solid, We got him off the streets, right? We did that thing. We did that together. Now help me with this case. And that case was put to the back burner and not investigated. And things fizzled out, and my man Enoch had to hold that, which is crazy. But Sonya being Sonya, this wasn't enough. After leaving that situation and it being dropped and nothing being followed, you think she'd lay low. You think, I've used my influence enough. Let me settle down and stick to my job and be professional and be ethical, at least for a little bit. But boy, that did not take long for her in 2023 to get involved in trying to save her son. You see, her son had a problem, and he was allegedly driving under the influence of, we don't know whether it's prescription drugs, illegal drugs, we aren't sure. But he was pulled over by the police, and you think my man would hold up being 33, what, let me take whatever happens to me because I did that shit. Nah, you know what he did? He called mommy. Mommy! Sonya! I need some help. The police are on me. I'm by the side of the road on Highway 335. Come help me. Of course, any mother, I can't even blame her like that. Any mother, but a mother who's a judge should know better. She comes through to the scene of the alleged crime and starts to run interference like a linebacker, like a defensive lineman. She's running interference, berating them, saying, do you know who this is? Or I can only imagine what she was saying, honestly. I'm just ad-libbing what she was saying, but I can imagine saying, you know, this isn't anything. Why are you holding my son? Why are you detaining him? X, Y, and Z. Do you know who I am? I'm this or that. Throwing her weight about like she probably usually does when it comes to situations where she can use her influence as a judge. But the officers on this potential arrest weren't having that. They saw her take the pills from her son's vehicle and they were like, yo, what are you doing? You're tampering with evidence. You're obstructing justice, which you're supposed to uphold. And of course, they reported that, reported that to the ethics board, reported that to the DA, and you'd think they would do their due diligence this time and get her done on something because she was tampering with evidence, being an obstructive official. She's doing too much. She's doing too much at this moment in time. You'd think they would look into this, and it looks like they did some work because they uncovered some more allegations against her conduct when it comes to bullying aid workers, when it comes to mishandling certain trials, to doing her bidding that could potentially be unlawful, when it comes to stealing time for work she really hadn't done, whether it comes to allegedly not paying back a loan that she took off someone for 20,000. All these ethical violations or potential violations were looked into. She was suspended for 6 months without pay pending this investigation, and they couldn't find anything. She was acquitted. She beat the case again. And she was at the front of the court, tap dancing, singing hallelujah, saying, God is good. Let's have a look.
Oh, I feel great. I feel great. God is good. Yes, He's good. So I'm thankful and I'm grateful. Yes, God will intervene. Yeah, He will intervene, but He will also vindicate you of all righteousness. When you keep the faith and trust Him, He said, no good thing will I withhold from you. So I'm grateful to God on this day for believing in me and knowing that I did nothing wrong. And I thank God for my attorney that He sent my way all the way from Philadelphia. I thank God for you. I thank God for you believing in me. Yes,
God.
And my attorney said, thank you, Jesus.
Oh, man's not even speaking.
So I'm grateful.
He's trying to get out of there.
What's the next step for you, Judge?
Yes. I'm ready to take my seat back. I need to get back to the bench. I love my community. I want my seat. And the community has voted me back in. I've been going through a re-election. And I thank God for my community believing in me and saying, you know what? She deserves the seat. So I'm grateful. And thank you.
Hey, Mr. McDonald, just a quick question. What do you think about this case coming into it? And
That's crazy. Yo, that local community needs to be doing more vetting, because I don't know how you could be accused of so many heinous things, so many ethical violations, and think there's no fire without the smoke, or smoke without fire. Like, already, if there's someone who's had a whole bunch of run-ins with the law at this point, just managing to skate by off her name being a judge, I'd be thinking, yo, let's pick someone else and let's stay clear of her. But I guess people like to I don't know, maybe it might be just racial politics, I guess, First black district judge, Sonya McKnight. Let's re-elect her. That old chestnut again. Sounds a bit suspicious. Sounds a bit familiar. Almost sounds like what happens in Dalton. What happened in Dalton? I mean, at this point, hey, 2015 and 2021, that period of time, people were just getting elected just because they looked like a minority. Like, what can I say? What can I say? It's the truth. It's the truth. It wasn't based off character. There were probably better people fitted and people with more cleaner histories to be re-elected. But I don't know. Politics, there could be thousands of factors involved in her re-election. So I can't speak on that too tough. So you see, she's skating. She's skating on thin ice at this point. And you think, at this point, after she's beat 2 cases, right, potentially, you think, okay, let me just finish my term, get my pension, and bounce. Let me deuces and keep my head below the water. Another incident happens. You see, she just can't be alone. She needs a man in her life. So she decides to get in another relationship. And this time, she isn't quite as lucky to get away with it. You see, she gets in a relationship with this boyfriend. And according to his words, things had problems from day one. Day one, they were already rocking. So I don't know why he stayed with him. He might have been a professional homosexual. I don't know. But he stays with her and things deteriorate until he's had enough. And he says to Sonya, Sonya, it's been great, but I think we need to part ways. I'm not helping you. You're not helping me. We're hurting each other. This relationship has been toxic since day one, and I'm done. I'm not taking you back. I'm officially over. I know we have this back and forth. I leave. I take you back, and we have this merry-go-round that you're used to, but this time's for reals. Good night. I'm gonna go to bed now. And that's when he woke up the next couple of hours with a throbbing headache, thinking, what the hell is going on? It feels like my brain wants to escape my skull. He then tells Sonya what's happened. He says, call the ambulance, call someone, because I am bleeding. And then when the paramedics come, that's when they tell him, you've been shot. We need to take you to the emergency room. And thankfully, he's alive. But he didn't escape scot-free. He could not longer see in one of his eyes. He had been shot in the head, and the doctor said if it was any closer, 2 centimeters to the left or right, it would have been night-night for the boy. And that's when things finally collapse on Sonya McKnight. Finally, she's arrested for attempted murder. She has been prosecuted and been convicted with attempted murder. The jury had to just put the pieces together. There were 2 people in the house. Who shot the man? The man didn't shoot himself. Why would he do that to himself? Hey, she already had priors. That's all I'm saying. But they didn't know that at the time. They just thought, oh, we don't even know they didn't even know if it was a judge or not. But they put 2 and 2 together, and they finally convicted Sonya McKnight. She has finally been put behind bars. finally. And, I'm happy that this criminal is behind bars permanently. She's due to be sentenced in a couple of weeks, but a tumultuous history. And just to think, if I was this judge and I had convicted a bunch of people, I'm not going to be sleeping at night. I'm going to be sleeping one eye open. One eye open when I'm sleeping. One eye. Yo, I'm going to be awake. I'm going to be nocturnal, bruv. But let's look at some of the details that came out during the whole course of the trial.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Cromwell. That breaking news: Dauphin County Judge Sonya McKnight found guilty of attempted murder. A jury handing down that verdict moments ago. Seth Kaplan live at the Dauphin County Courthouse with the latest. Good afternoon, Seth.
Good afternoon to you, James. Yeah, the case went to the jury 9:30 this morning. Didn't take them long. Shortly after 11, we got word that, in fact, they had reached the verdict. Everybody, as you can imagine, rushed back into the courtroom, and that verdict, as you said, guilty. Guilty, actually, on 2 counts. The more significant count, attempted first-degree murder for the night of her boyfriend, Michael McCoy. Just to recap everything, and I'll get to more details. On trial here was suspended Dauphin County Judge Sonya McKnight back in 2019. She was cleared on charges of shooting her estranged husband in Harrisburg. That was found to be in self-defense. This case was about what happened the morning of February 10th, 2024, along Saddle Ridge Drive in Susquehanna Township. Prosecutors say Michael McCoy, who was Sonya McKnight's boyfriend, woke up blind and in a pool of blood. Everyone agrees the relationship had been rocky. Everyone agrees there were only 2 people in the house when a shot was fired through McCoy's head. Prosecutors say for that and many other reasons, it was clear McKnight shot McCoy, who said he had never had a suicidal thought in his life and pleaded with EMTs and doctors to, quote, save me. McKnight's defense attorney said that was not at all clear. More gunshot residue on McCoy's hand, for example, than on McKnight. The defense alleged, quote, sloppy handling of evidence by Susquehanna Township police. Tried to raise lots of other doubts, but
imagine being the judge and saying, yo, this police department is sloppy, I know. Oh, wow. Wow.
Live, James, not enough in the jury's mind to reach that standard of reasonable doubt that would have caused them to find, for the defense, to find Sonya McKnight not guilty. It was a jury of 6 men and 6 women from Delaware County. We're here in Dauphin County, but almost everybody involved in the case other than Sonya McKnight and Michael McCoy was from outside the county. The DA from Cumberland County, Sean McCormack, the jury from Delaware County, a judge from Lancaster County, all brought in to try to give as much of a fair shot at everybody as possible. But when you're talking about a suspended judge who was on trial here, keep in mind, James, the jury did not know that she was a suspended judge. The jury did not know about that previous case that she had allegedly shot, although found to be in self-defense, her former husband. So they were working with less information than some of the rest of us knew going into this case, and yet they felt they had enough information to find her guilty. Bail has now been raised to $3 million. She was immediately put into handcuffs, being taken to Dauphin County Jail.
Seth, you were inside the courtroom when this verdict was read. Can you talk a little bit about what the demeanor was like inside? Did she have a reaction? Did the courtroom have a reaction to this verdict?
The judge and sheriffs had pleaded with everybody inside. They said, everybody had behaved essentially very well for the whole 2-day trial, and then coming into this third morning this morning, they said, please, let's keep that going. And in fact, that is what happened. There were all kinds of emotions from both sides. I mean, if you looked at people's eyes, you could feel the tension, but in terms of any loud, emotive reactions, none at all. They did all comply with those pleas to remain quiet. And Sonya McKnight herself stood up and placed in handcuffs, and her attorney continued to talk to her about what happened next. He did ask the judge for leniency in terms of, and in fact, here we have DA Sean McCormack, walking out. So if you bear with me here for just a minute, James, we can hear from the district attorney, Cumberland County. Your reaction?
Obviously, we're pleased. This has been a long road to get to this point. I was just talking with the family. The family is very, very pleased with the outcome. We're very thankful to the jury that we had from Delaware County that traveled here and had to sacrifice away from home for the past 3 days. We're very thankful for the judge for the way that he ran this trial and all of the pre-trial motions and stuff that we dealt with. He was very fair. He was very much straight down the middle with his rulings. I think a lot of this case, a lot of the publicity, even you guys talking to me right now, is because Sonya McKnight is a magisterial district judge here in Dauphin County. And, a lot of the focus has been on her. From our side of the case, our focus has been on Mike McCoy. Mike is the one that was injured. Mike is the one that is really a walking miracle that he's still alive with a bullet that went through his head. And if you heard the doctor, a centimeter off of where that bullet actually went, he would have been dead. So, we are very thankful that the jury heard us and heard Mike in that courtroom, and very pleased with the verdict.
Obviously, no case is perfect. This is one where you had allegations of less than perfect evidence handling by Susquehanna Township Police, for example, called sloppy by the defense. Was there a moment, now that you can tell us this, that you wondered whether they had raised enough doubt to meet that standard of reasonable doubt?
Hey, I never like to jinx myself to say that I think I have a perfect case. So I will tell you, every time I walk into the courtroom, I am nervous, I am anxious, I am worried about everything that occurs in the courtroom. But no, I don't believe at any point in time I felt that there was anything in this case that took the focus away from where we wanted it to be, and that was on Mike McCoy. Things happen. I think in particular about the robe being dropped. The robe really wasn't relevant at all in the course of this trial, and I hope I addressed that during my closing argument.
Sean, when you talk about this case, you did not have that proof, so to speak, that somebody witnessing this happening. Was there concern that you may not be able to convince a jury in that particular regard?
No, I don't think there was ever a concern on our part that we wouldn't be able to convince a jury because there was no eyewitness to the actual crime. I think what I talked about in my closing is using your common sense. That's what I urge the jurors to do. There were two people in that house, and only two people in that house. And one of them, the one who was shot, said he did not shoot himself. The logical conclusion is the other person did it. And I'm glad the jury ultimately saw the truth in that statement, and they found her guilty on all charges here today.
Can you give us any indication how the McCoy family is feeling at this moment?
Relieved. I've been doing this for a while, and I'll tell you, as I'm waiting for the verdict, I'm very nervous. I'm pacing around. It's a stressful time. They are certainly very much relieved that they're finally getting some justice here. The justice system does not move very fast. It took over a year to get to this point in time. Mike still has a lot of healing to do. He still has, when you look at him, it doesn't look like he's dealing with anything, but really, physically, he's permanently impaired, and I'm sure mentally, he's dealing with very, very serious issues.
Do you think it says anything that a district judge was not above the law?
Well, as a prosecutor, I have prosecuted so many different professions, police officers, now a district judge. I don't think anybody should be above the law. I think the law should be applied evenly and equally across the board. And that's the way that I've always proceeded with any cases that I've been involved with, and that's how I intend to continue.
Where does this one rank among cases? You coming over to this county to prosecute because of all the dynamics, because of her notoriety? You've prosecuted a lot of cases. Where does this one fit in with them?
I enjoyed my time coming back here to Dauphin County. I worked here for 30 years before I went across the river. I live in Cumberland County and had an opportunity to become district attorney. I love the Cumberland County District Attorney's Office. It was nice coming back here to visit, but I don't plan on quitting my day job. I'm going back across to Cumberland County. You saw I have a fantastic staff over there. You saw my first assistant district attorney, Courtney Hare LaRue, do an excellent job, really attorney, and I'm sure the citizens of Cumberland.
Is that common to see less than 2 hours pretty quick?
Well,
For less than 2 hours, I mean, what do you think that says about, your work in this case, the case that you had, and how often, is that common to see less than 2 hours?
Well, there we have it. The story of the former, now disgraced district magisterial Dauphin District Judge Sonya McKnight. She is finally going to be put behind bars where she belongs. And we, the public, the people on the internet, don't have to hear about her foolishness for at least 20 years. Up to, potentially. Sentencing is still yet to be taken. I think is in the next month or two. But let me know what you think about this story. This has been a crazy one. I know this is going to be a long one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
I be kidding on my foes, even though I got it all on my own. Success sweet, yeah, it tastes like honeycomb. Dropping blood, tears, and even breaking bones. I'm sipping on Patron while aiming for the throne. I've been to hell and back and even call it home.